Hey guys, this is Joshua Seth, voice of Tai on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Secrets.
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh yes, this is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin' Time! Link to the Morphin'. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Smokin' Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Toku Secrets podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today we are returning back to the wonderful world of Power Rangers. We just recently finished reviewing Ninja Sentai Go Ranger, and we did the two crossover movies that Sentai was associated with. And now we're going to be taking a look at the Power Ranger season that Engine Sentai Go Ranger was adapted into, as well as the very last season of Power Rangers in the Disney era. Maybe, if you considering some recent news that they've released with a bit of a Disney new series on Disney Plus, but we'll get to that. We'll talk about that in another podcast. But yeah, we are taking a look at RPM today. This is a very big fan favorite season, but if you're expecting a glowing review of the season, don't expect that because we're not going to rip this season apart. We're not going to be mean to it or anything, but we're not exactly the big fans here. But we also want to make another thing clear, because people like to say, oh, well, you like Go Ranger, but you don't like RPM, so are you a Sentai purist? Well, remember, we like Jungle Fury, but we don't like Geki Ranger, so you can't call us Sentai purists.
We like Mighty Morphin. We don't like Zero Ranger.
Yeah. So
that's the quintessential definition of anti-Sentai purist right there.
Yeah. So that's just a bit of a warning. But yeah, we're going to be reviewing the whole season like we usually do with a full Power Ranger season. So so we're going to start off going over the plot. I'll go over some fun facts and other interesting stuff behind the scenes that the other guys can chime in with their thoughts on, and then we'll go into the analysis portion. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And we very likely will do a versus on RPM and Go Ranger, because that'll be interesting at the very least. So, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So, with that said, let's jump in. Most people know the plot for RPM, but we'll still go over it for the few fans who don't. Okay, so we start off when it originally aired. We thought that this was part of like the near future in the main Power Rangers universe, but then we later learn that it was actually an alternate universe. More on that in a little bit. Where in this alternate universe, an evil computer virus known as the Venjix virus has enslaved the world. He has armies of robotic soldiers and has reduced the world to a barren wasteland. And there's only a single domed city called Corinth. That's the last safe haven for any surviving humans. We then fast forward to a year where this mysterious man with amnesia, he just calls himself Dylan. He arrives in Corinth while searching for his past. He gets arrested due to suspicion of working with Venjix due to cybernetic upgrades in his body, but then he gets released on the condition that he joins a team of soldiers. They're using high-tech weapons and suits designed by the mysterious Dr. K to become Power Rangers. Well, they're called Ranger Series operators, but they're Power Rangers. And they defend the city. These 3 Ranger Series operators, we have cocky and stubborn former Eagle Squad pilot Scott Truman. He's Operator Series Red. He's the son of the leader of Corinth's defense, Colonel Mason Truman. We got a laid back Scottish mechanic named Finn McAllister, Ranger Operator Series Blue, and a kind and caring former spoiled rich socialite, Summer Lansdowne, Ranger Operator Series Yellow. Dylan joins the team as Ranger Operator Series Black, and his dim-witted and clumsy yet good-hearted sidekick, and he's also a former aspiring gangster, Ziggy Grover. He joins the team as Ranger Operator Series Green. He originally just joined them as an assistant as part of Dylan's condition for joining the team. And we later learned that Dr. K is an intelligent yet awkward young woman, and she was actually locked away in a secret government facility as a child. She was being used to help in secret projects, and she actually created the Venjix virus in desperation to set herself free, but it got accidentally released out into the, out, resulting in what happened. There's a saga of episodes where the Rangers are helping Dylan search for his past in the wasteland, and they encounter 2 old friends of Dr. K's named Jim and Gemma. They were presumed dead, but they actually escaped, and they're using 2 other suits to be Ranger Operator Series Gold and Silver, and they want to fight by themselves, but they join the team. And then as the fight rages on, Dylan learns that Tanaya's Venjix's humanoid machine, human hybrid general, Tanaya is actually his sister, and the 2 were abducted by Venjix and operated on to be part of an army of human/machine hybrids that he was creating. Tanaya tries to help the Rangers when she discovers, but then she gets captured and reprogrammed to loyally serve Venjix. Gee, I wonder where I've seen that before, but we'll get to that later. This leads to a final confrontation with Venjix, where he tries to unleash his entire hybrid army on the world to finally take out Corinth and exterminate humanity once and for all. He hunts into the biofield. This is this universe's equivalent of the morphing grid, and that allows him to kill Jim and Gemma, and the other Rangers can't morph unless they be killed. But then the Rangers create a cure to stop all the hybrids from being brainwashed. Dr. K creates a new virus to weaken Venjix before restoring Jim and Gemma. Jim and Gemma destroy Venjix, and with Venjix defeated, the world slowly begins to return to normal. The Rangers go their separate ways. Scott rejoins Eagle Squad. Jim and Gemma join him. Flynn is working on a new computer network to help rebuild the world. Ziggy and Dr. K go into business teaching kids. Dylan, Summer, and a newly restored Tanaya venture out into the world and help rebuild, and everything seems all fine and dandy. Or does it? And that's how the series ends. Yeah, they were implying, just to kind of go off of that, they were implying that Venjix was still alive because there was shown to be like Venjix is still living in Scott's morpher. Apparently, Ranger Productions did that as a last ditch Hail Mary to try and convince Disney continue RPM, continue Power Rangers, but Disney didn't agree. But thankfully, that plot, I mean, I haven't seen it, but Riz and Anthony have told me that it does get continued on in Beast Morphers. So, yeah, we'll get to that and follow up on that plot point later on when we do Beast Morphers. But yeah, a couple of fun facts here. RPM was apparently a last-minute decision on Disney's part. They wanted to end the franchise after Jungle Fury, because by the time Jungle Fury came out, Disney was embarrassed to be owning Power Rangers, so they were desperate to end the show. And there's some reports saying that they were convinced to continue the show by Eddie Gazelian. More on him in a second. And then others say that the company that was responsible for airing the show on network forced Disney to continue due to their contract. The previous year, Jungle Fury was the last season to air on the Jetix time block. Disney discontinued it. So RPM would only air on ABC. Disney excluded it from the succeeding time block Disney XD, which that just sucks. There was a lot of troubled production in RPM, pretty well known. Like we're talking like Jaws level nightmare production, basically, where the original producer was Eddie Gazelian. He had never worked on any live action shows as a showrunner. He had previously been the showrunner for their popular animated show American Dragon Jake Long, and he had also been a writer on the Nickelodeon sitcom Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I remember seeing his name on a couple of episodes. Um, but he pitched a very dark and gritty season for Disney that could appeal to younger and older audiences, but that was obviously difficult because of how goofy and lighthearted Go Under was in appearance. And then roughly midway through the season, Gazelian got fired due to reports of him having gone over budget twice. They replaced him with Judd Lynn. Judd Lynn was a former longtime producer of Power Rangers. He had worked as the show's executive producer from Turbo to Time Force. And also notably, Jackie Merchant. She was a longtime producer and writer on the show who had been with it since the beginning in Mighty Morphin. She got fired several months into production. Disney was presumably very displeased with her participating in the 2008 Writers Guild strike. There were rumors here, and Dan Ewing, and this is something that the guys can really chime in. Apparently, the original finale with Gazillions Vision was that the original finale was going to be called Ranger Black, and it was going to reveal that Dylan had been created to be a spy for Venjix all along. He infiltrated the Rangers base, earned their trust, and then in the end, he would become a final body for Venjix to inhabit, and the Rangers would have to destroy Dylan in order to destroy Venjix.
Yep.
So Gazellion's original vision for the show was pretty dark. What do you guys think about that? With like the
I would have preferred that.
It would have made things more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were building to that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then they took a different route. I think in the last arc, maybe the last 7 episodes or so.
I mean, you could tell the moment when Judd Lynn took over.
Oh, yeah.
Because the season becomes incredibly safe. And I'll go into what I mean by that when we get to going over plot stuff later.
Unless I get to it first.
I mean, you probably caught on to it also, but
I think the episode where they start to take over is roughly like the last episode where Gazillion was on fully was that episode where Jim and Gemma get the whale Zord. Like they turn the whale Zord, they turn that Doom machine that Venjix created into their new Zord, and they unlock their Megazord. Because after that, everything just comes off as stereotypical Power Ranger stuff. Okay, a couple more things here. Speaking of Dylan, Dan Ewing, he played Dylan this season, Ranger Operator Series Black. He apparently auditioned for Casey Rhodes, the Red Jungle Fury Ranger, in the previous season. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that though. I think Jason Smith was probably.
I'm glad he didn't get it because it would have been very weird seeing because have you seen how tall he looks?
Yeah.
I don't think it would have. It wouldn't have worked for me, honestly.
Yeah, that's on par with seeing how Jason Font originally auditioned for Andros. It's like you just can't see it.
I mean,
just giving the Legolas hair. That'd be so funny to look at.
I think that's a bad take. I think Dan Wynn could have been a good Casey for Jungle Fury, and that we're biasing our opinion based on the fact that Jason Smith has to be Casey or Christopher Kamen Lee has to be Andros, but in the timeline where Christopher Kamen Lee did not win that and Font did get it, I mean, I think Font was good enough to have done that role as Andros, and Dan Wing, if you look at videos of him at Morphicon from last year, he has a range of personality that you don't really see in RPM, and I don't know his other work, but he could have pulled off Casey pretty well as well. So I think it's unfair to say that, oh, well, he can't be that because we have Jason Smith, and that's all we can have, because that's what we're biased by.
I'll make a little bit of a better argument why I think it worked out better. I think he's a much like bulkier guy.
Yeah.
And Dylan's more like roughhouser boxer style of fighting fits his body build better than the more nimble Casey.
And that argument I'll give you, but the argument Nate and Anthony are making, I won't give them.
Because Jason Smith is a much lankier guy, so you could see him.
I think that's what I was trying to get at, but I just didn't say it word correctly.
Yeah.
You didn't word it correctly? Anthony, you worded it terribly.
Riz, I'm a sick shit.
Let the HUD hunting begin.
So, to continue with that, Mike Ginn, he was Jim / Gold this season. He auditioned for the Green Ranger, but got called back to play the Gold Ranger, which I could see that. I mean, he's kind of a goofier guy. Like both he and Ziggy, both he and Milo are pretty goofy, so I could probably see that working out. Ari Borland, he played Flynn, the Blue Ranger of his season. He auditioned for many Power Ranger series. That's all I found on Ranger Wiki. I couldn't find any specifics. He auditioned for Red and Black for this season. Apparently, the producers didn't have any auditions for Blue because, quote, he had no personality in the Sentai, which, were we watching?
They didn't watch the Sentai.
Wow. That's rude.
Yeah, but he when he got called on to audition for Blue, he tried doing a number of different accents, and then they settled on his Scottish one, which that's actually kind of interesting. This is, like I said, this is the final season of the Disney era of the franchise. It was originally planned to be the final season of the whole franchise, but then a year after it ended, Haim Saban bought the franchise back and moved to continue it in 2011. It was unclear how RPM would be set in continuity, but then Power Ranger Samurai Clash of the Red Rangers, a TV movie featuring Scott, it reveals that RPM takes place in an alternate continuity from the main universe. Some people actually originally thought that Samurai was the one that took place in an alternate universe, but then Power Rangers Super Mega Force 2 years later would confirm that it's RPM. That's the one that's in an alternate universe. And I want to last thing. Well, actually, two things because Riz also wanted to mention this one. This is the only season without a roll call when the Rangers morph, which I noticed that because, like, I remember when somebody was doing a video where he wanted to make it look like all RPM Rangers and Samurai Rangers were morphing. So of course he shows the full team morph of Samurai and the full team morph of RPM. Then of course he takes the footage from Shane Kinder versus Goanger, but it's so awkward because okay, the Samurai Rangers are just saying like Samurai Ranger ready, blah 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 blah. But with RPM, he's just taking random lines from each of the Rangers. Like Scott is saying, like, okay, here we go, people. And then Flynn says that line from his episode that says, oh, we picked a good time to die, big boys. Like, it was the most awkward edit I've ever seen. Like, I'm with you, Riz. I did not like how we didn't get a roll call this season. And by sheer coincidence, Danger and Destiny Part 2, the finale of RPM, it was supposed to be the last episode of Power Rangers, and it's also the 700th episode of the entire franchise. So that's a pretty weird coincidence. But yeah, now we can move on to the analysis segment here where
he forgot one.
What did I forget?
The one I texted you.
I just mentioned the whole thing with the roll call.
The other one.
You mentioned another one?
Yeah. Oh my God, Nate. Okay. So, in the episode where the guys are using the go on their van, they actually mention, so they explain to go on their van, like, has a whole acronym. I don't remember what it is. But the cool part is, they're making fun of the van saying, oh, this is an old van. What was it, made in 1975? I'm sitting here like, I know that year. That's the year Super Sentai began.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting Easter egg. And one other thing, I can't remember what the last time, although it's probably a long time since I want to say at least Power Rangers Turbo. This is the first season to not feature any non-Sentai weapons or equipment ever, because Turbo I don't think had any non-Sentai stuff. Power Rangers in Space had the Battleizer. Every season from Lost Galaxy to SPD had motorcycles plus Battleizers. The Mystic Force and Operation Overdrive had Battleizers. Plus Operation Overdrive had that stupid Trans-Tech armor thing. And then Jungle Fury had Casey's Strike Rider cruise. So yeah, this is the first time since Turbo to not have any non-Sentai equipment, which that sucks, but what are you going to do about that? So yeah, now we can move on to the analysis portion with talking about it. We're going to start off with the plot analysis. We can give our thoughts, just give a general discussion on what we think about the story here. So who wants to jump in first? I know Patrick definitely wants to take a shot.
I got a lot of shots to take.
Yeah, I'll let Patrick go first because he's been itching for longer.
I kind of wanted to hit back on that plot I mentioned earlier about when Judd Lin took over, the story got a little bit more, I guess, safe.
Yeah.
Because the Dylan Tanaya storyline is literally just the Astronema Andros storyline ripped plot point for plot point.
Yeah.
Unapologetically. Oh, he's got a locket. The locket has a picture of his sister. His sister also has said locket. She decides to join up with the Ranger teams. She gets kidnapped and cybernetically enhanced to become more evil. I'm like, okay. You're not even trying to hide it.
Soldier Boy would say, he copied my whole effing flow, word for word, bar for bar.
Pretty much. And I kind of don't blame him, because it really does feel like he was put on the spot and was forced to pick up a storyline without any real preparation. So he just took maybe his best storyline that he ever wrote from in space and copied it in here. But it made RPM so predictable in the second half.
It did. Especially, I'm just looking like the part that kind of actually frustrated me, I'm not even gonna lie to you, was toward the end where like Tanaya was about to meet up with Dylan, all the other Rangers were there, and out of nowhere Kilobyte shows up, takes her, and I'm just like, you mean tell me y'all all got sold by one dude? Like, what?
I mean, in their defense, his Sentai counterpart did wipe the Go-Oners.
True, yeah. I'll
I'm really curious, what the original intention was with Tanaya, because if we're going off of what Eddie Gazellion's original ending was, where Dylan was just another body for Venjix, obviously Tanaya is not going to be a sister. I mean, was he even going to have a sister? So what was the original intention with Tanaya? Kind of curious about that.
Ultimate creation. That's kind of what I thought she was initially.
I thought it was like a test program for Venjix to create his own army out of humans rather than out of robots.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Venjix was very open about experimenting. So
yeah.
Who knows?
But I gotta say, I think Patrick has made the most sense about his opinion on RPM in terms of what I think about RPM right now. They played it too safe at the end, but honestly, all things considered, the best part of RPM to me was the end, unfortunately.
That is a little bit of a bold statement because personally I thought the season got progressively worse.
Well, okay, so I thought the season was progressively worse in the beginning, and then when they shifted to this, it got interesting because before, to me, it just felt like, okay, so they're in this post-apocalyptic world. They lost like 99.9% of humanity. They're all in this one little dome, and they're fighting off some apocalyptic bad guy. But it didn't really seem like a pressing problem, right? Like, Venzix is supposed to be kept out of the dome, but lo and behold, Tanaya just walks in and out of the dome, no big deal, all day long. Like, what the heck? And then the other thing is, I would have preferred if they had done something like, so I know Walking Dead didn't do this, but had they done like a Walking Dead style thing where they're like, okay, we don't have resources, we need food, we need to go find like a generator from another civilization, like another city or something. Like they played more into the survivalist part of it, but they were all hunky dory. They had no problems. There was a utopia in that little dome, and it felt boring because it was like Scott's dad said: "We stay, we protect the dome. We don't do anything else," and that was playing it safe to me.
But you want to know what my gripe with the show is not actually what's in the show. It's what we didn't get. And you already know what I'm going to say.
Say it.
Didn't get that freaking demo theme. I'm still hate about that to this day.
Wait, what are you mad about?
The demo theme.
Demo theme.
Yeah, RPM was one of those seasons where they had the theme song had like multiple versions.
I don't know if I heard a demo theme.
There's like 2 or 3 of them.
There's 4.
Oh, there's 4 of them? Yeah. And a lot of people say that they used the worst one for the actual theme song. I don't care. I think they all sucked, but that's just
no. The RPM theme song drove me nuts.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it's. I'm sorry. You're gonna all
go ahead, Riz.
You're all gonna hate me. You're all gonna hate what I'm gonna say. It's 1 or 2 steps above the season we shall not name.
That's fair.
I mean, it's just boring.
No,
it's boring.
It's boring. It doesn't really bring anything to the table. It doesn't talk about anything to do with like, hey, gotta survive, gotta fight Venzix. It's just Dr. K's little monologue in the beginning. Then it goes into like this theme song that doesn't really match the theme of the season or what the theme wants to be.
See, and you know what did that, Riz? The demo theme, the first one.
Yeah, but the problem with that same demo theme is that it's way too peppy and excited for the theme of the season.
I mean, the show was campy. It's all crap. Might as well just campy in the show too.
But that's what I'm saying. We had a bit of campy in the season we shouldn't have had.
You know, for their boasting about how it's apocalyptic and all that, but they was still cracking jokes. I don't even want to hear it.
No, that's the problem. Is Ziggy?
Yeah, why is there still an active mafia in this city? I feel like there's more important things to be attending to than like there's a stupid mafia boss in this place.
I feel like the mafia thing kind of works because it's like these mafia people get their hands on like Fresno Bob, that being his name. Fresno Bob is a stupid name, but aside from that, like you could argue that like, maybe Fresno Bob and his mafia, like they gained access to like these resources that would be valuable to Corinth. And therefore they're saying, hey, we'll share all these resources with you, but you still need to like give me power and all that. Like,
and
I mean,
that would have been very.
Like, okay, you can leave then. Goodbye.
And that would have been very Walking Dead like, where you had a group of people with something you need and you have to trade for it. That would have made this season way better. But there is no sense of urgency. They're all just happy-go-lucky in the dome. No trouble. Just, oh yeah, we got some rangers. They'll go off and fight and protect us. But the monsters just walk in whenever they want. There's no real defense. Even though we're in a dome. You're in a dome. But they walk in and out like no big deal.
I mean,
I would have to agree. All my defending of the show, I will agree that was the weakest part of it, because they never like it could be some throwaway line like, oh, they got through the shields, or like the shields were down. I was able to lower their shield, something like that. Vengeance, at least that would have made it over.
Yeah, because when they did try to make the dome a plot point, that episode where like we need to leave the city, and they were like, well, we need to lower the dome, and that's going to leave us vulnerable. That was one of the best episodes of the season because there was a lot of tension.
Yeah, 100%.
And the problem is there were some moments before that, but afterward, it really felt like people were just coming and leaving the city at will without any fanfare.
Oh, yeah.
And like you were talking about, like the Vengex monsters just walking in. Shoot, my most hated episode is the one where Truman gave Jem the medal and not Scott out of spite. Screw that episode for everything that it is about. But one of the dumb things about that episode. But one of the dumb things about that episode is Jem and Scott have this really heartfelt conversation outside of the city. How did both of you get out there?
Dude, not only that. No. Hold on, Patrick. That's one instance. Dylan does it again later. He just leaves on his own.
Like, wasn't lowering the shield for you to leave like a major problem earlier? Now you guys are just walking out the door like there's no problem. And if you have established rules of your universe, you need to follow them, or else it makes everything crumble.
And that's been my issue, is that they don't follow the rules of the season. And then on top of that, they set up this really cool idea for a season. Post-apocalyptic world. Things are all going to hell in a handbasket. It's to be doom and gloom, but we don't really get a lot of doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And the thing that bugs me even more is so many other people out there say this is the best season. But honestly, it's not, because they don't really dig into the theme. They say, okay, here's the theme, but they don't own the theme.
It's one of those instances of people really love dark atmosphere, and I will say that the season does have a dark atmosphere, but it does nothing with it.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is we got people in the fandom out there who will say, oh, well, I want dark and edgy. I want like post-apocalyptic. Oh, I want like doom and gloom. But then they get the basic premise of, okay, hey, we're in this post-apocalyptic world. But look, you still got happy-go-lucky people. There's no concern. There's no fear. Like, give me one scene where Vengex's group attacks the dome and people are freaking under their beds.
The finale.
Not really. I mean, yeah, a little bit, but that's the finale. Where was it all?
Yeah, you'd expect it to happen.
Yeah, but where was it in episode 1? Where was it in episode 2? Like, it could have been there all along.
I don't even think the finale got that.
It didn't. I think Patrick's over-exaggerating it.
I mean, that was the closest we got. I think something that we needed was, from the beginning of the season, they kind of established that Vengex is like amassing his army and directing all troops to Corinth, and the Rangers know it, so they're on a ticking clock.
Yeah.
So then the finale happens, and it's literally his entire army from around the world attacking Corinth at once. It would have added a sense of urgency from the beginning of the season.
So it would have been nice. It would have been nice. Or,
like,
you know what else?
This should have been, like, other finales have gotten this down pretty good, but this is one of those finales where getting a countdown to destruction level of, like, invasion and feeling of despair is kind of mandatory.
I mean, they copied everything else from it. Space, why not?
Might as well.
You know what else they could have done? They literally could have had like another like another human civilization out there that they came in contact with, and they were coordinating research between the two. Like they could have had like how the heck am I supposed to believe that the entirety of humanity, no one else, no other nation state out there said, "Hey, let's build our own Corinth." It was only to one country, whatever country that was.
Yeah.
Like not Japan, not China.
Like
Like
even like I know I keep bringing up Walking Dead, but even Walking Dead had other groups, other civilizations out there that were doing their own thing and sometimes interacted.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that here, and it would have been nice to see like, okay, hey, Corinth is getting the brunt of Venzix because they're the most stubborn, but there are other civilizations out there, and Venzix pulls his armies from those other civilizations to attack Corinth, and when that happens, guess what? Help's on the way. Other human groups come to their aid because they realize, oh hey, we can actually stop them here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But nothing happens.
Yeah, or they could do things like resource escort missions where they had to protect convoys, and
Right?
it would have added so much. And then they could have had a moment later where it's like, oh crap, the city just got destroyed, and now they're
Yeah.
like, so we literally are the only one left now.
Or they take in the refugees from the other civilization and they're running out of space.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like there's so much more they could have done with it, because this premise is incredible for a season.
It is.
But-
It's a great premise, but
Yeah.
they undersell it. They don't do enough with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say that the main issue I have here is that I honestly think that this season peaked too early, because here's the thing, that saga of episodes where we get the backstories, the episode that reveals Dr. K's backstory and reveals that she makes the Venjix virus, that's actually my favorite episode of the series. That episode is a 10 out of 10 for me, just with all the emotion behind her backstory. I
Yeah.
honestly feel like they should have held off on revealing that she created Venjix until way later, because that could have helped it a lot. But yeah, I mean, like everything after that episode, because that's the last episode of the backstory episodes. Almost everything after that is, I mean, there's some good episodes after that, but I just feel like it peaked way too early.
Okay, so here's what they should have done. Hear me out. Do you guys remember in the last 4 or 5 episodes, they had that one Ziggy filler with him and Fresno Bob?
Mm-hmm.
They should have put that where the Dr. K story was and put Dr. K story there.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I agree with that.
really build up some tension here, guys. Like, just really go into it. And they don't. They just kind of like set up this whole world. Like, I keep texting Nate how much I thought Summer could have been the best yellow of the entire franchise had we gotten more from her.
Yeah, well, we can go into that when we get to the character.
Oh, I know, but I'm
section.
just saying that they didn't do story writing worth the crap to go beyond like, okay, let's have one focus episode for each of the 5 characters, and then that's it. Well, minus Dylan, he gets his own like 10 episode thing, whatever. But
Yeah.
main character syndrome. But everyone else gets like one set of episodes, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to mention this now, like, you know, we were talking about the finale, like, I don't think it's the worst finale ever, but it's definitely a bottom finale. Like, I don't think it's as bad as, I would say it's better than some finales like Mystic Force or the Legendary Battle, but it's still super disappointing, because it's like, this is this is a finale that was, like I said, was made to be on par with Countdown to Destruction. And here's the thing, there's been plenty of other finales that get that Countdown to Destruction like feel. Time Force being probably the big one, because I get nothing but like apocalyptic feels, like the world is ending and the end of time as well.
I know it's not on that same scale, but the Lightspeed's finale arc was great too.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, not so much with the city being invaded, but like seeing the Aqua base get just completely destroyed. That was definitely good.
Yeah.
We don't get any big moments like that. And I mean, the fact that we never get to see the whole team come together is also a huge pet peeve of mine because here's the thing. Ziggy does not morph at all in part one, and Dylan does not morph at all in part two. And
Stupid.
I mean, the Power Rangers are just supposed to be a team, and yet the whole final battle is Ziggy and Dylan are out doing their own things, and then Scott, Flynn, and Summer are fighting Venjix, but then all of a sudden they get beaten, and then Jim and Gemma get brought back, and then they kill Venjix. Why didn't they just use? And here's the thing that really boggles my mind about that. Like, why don't you just use the footage of Venjix getting destroyed by the RPM Ultrazord? Because surely using that footage isn't going to cost as much money as filming your own original footage for that. So I don't know, just Danger and Destiny. It's not the worst finale ever, but it's a bottom finale, honestly.
It
I mean,
wasn't a good finale,
no.
honestly. It
No,
had a lot
it
of
was.
things that, yeah.
I mean, even look at how they handled the whole everybody supposedly getting killed plot that the Go On Your finale did so well. It was
Yeah.
like, who cares?
It's like, who
Well,
cares?
okay, so we're gonna hit this in the character development more, but the reason why we cared is they established a threat factor for their villain. They established, hey, we like Hanto and Gunpei was, whatever.
Mhm.
But it was still meaningful because they had a bond. But
Mhm.
when you get to this, Ziggy and Dylan do not die, first of all. And they have, like,
Yeah.
the main three have a bond with those two more. And then when the twins die, okay, cool. You see some emotion from Flynn and Summer and a little bit from Scott. uh, Dylan brushes it off, saying, "Hey, we got bigger things to worry about right now." But the reason why that didn't really hit with us and the audience is we didn't really grow to like them. Like
Mhm.
with Hiroto and Mew, we stan those two, right? Like we stan those two siblings. But in this case, if I have to say it, I think of our group, I'm probably the only one who found them somewhat tolerable and entertaining at points.
The Boom Twins?
Yeah.
My issue with them is that they did get better as the season went along. Like the episode where Gemma and Flynn work on the
Yes.
what was that
Yes.
thing called?
The roadside Megazord or whatever.
Road
Yeah.
Attack Sword.
Yeah, whatever the heck
Yeah.
that thing was.
Lord.
Yeah.
I like the
That
roadside
episode,
droid better.
yeah. That episode was great. But when we started getting episodes where Gem and Gemma started to show more,
Maturity.
maturity and everything, we were like 5 episodes before the ending. Too little, too late.
But
Yeah.
You left them annoying for too long.
but the thing
And of
is,
course,
like, I understand
they
why they were left annoying because, and we'll hit this in more in the analysis, but the quick and dirty of it is their characters are stunted in growth because of where they grew up in alphabet soup, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when Gemma and Flynn were working together, honestly, she didn't hit Mew level, but she was getting to Mew level.
Mm-hmm.
And it bugged me to see her go to such a good level. Like, okay, we're going to say Mew's top S tier. Gemma and that episode probably hit low A tier for me. But then it dropped back down.
Yeah.
Like, the actress did a good job. She can act. She did a fantastic job with what she was given. And she even played Gemma well based on what she was told to play her as. But the problem is that the story writing didn't give her opportunity to do anything.
Mm-mm.
And that's the problem I have with most of this story is, okay, cool, we're in a post-apocalyptic world, but half the characters are written poorly to me.
That's fair. It's like it was supposed to be like there were ideas there, but it wasn't executed properly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I keep harping on Walking Dead in this because there could be a really good similarity, but the thing that they dropped the ball on 100% here from Walking Dead is The Walking Dead focused on the character development, focused on building relationships. Like, do we ever see like the main five really bonding all that much outside of Dylan and Ziggy and maybe a little bit of Summer and Scott? Like Flynn doesn't really connect with any of them. He's just kind of there.
This season, I think, more than any of the other Disney seasons, suffers the most from it being 32 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I
they
mean,
wasted goddamn episode. Okay, I had to talk about this.
ooh,
The
I know where you're going with
episode
this.
that
Please
pissed
do it.
me
Do it. Do
off
it. Do it.
so much is that that lights camera action episode, I think it was called. It was
Yeah, that
called
was
something.
terrible.
The most
I was like,
pointless episode in the
you mean
series.
to tell me y'all waste a full episode on behind the scenes stuff, but you're still in character. What? That's stupid.
And you know what the other stupid part is? I didn't know this when I was watching it and texting Nathan this morning. They had that. And then they had Eclipso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had 2 less episodes than the normal Disney seasons did.
We had 30 episodes of content.
They were
This
dumb
needed,
for that. I'm sorry.
this
I can't
needed
defend
the
that.
yeah this season needed the Saban like 45 episode.
You mean a Sentai season length?
Yeah, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about because the older Saban seasons were like around the 45
40
episode mark.
plus episodes, yeah.
Yeah, this season of all the Disney ones needed, because the other Disney seasons, for the most part, were able to fit everything perfectly into that little window. This one needed more time to breathe.
No, because okay,
I don't
so
think that Mystic Force could have benefited from a few more episodes, but I see what you mean.
I don't think Mystic Force's short episode run was its problem.
no, Mystic Force had another problem.
Here's the main character. We're gonna make him the least interesting character of the season.
Yeah,
but that's what they did with this season too.
Dylan?
No, Dylan's a good character, but
I mean, he's the main character,
right? But he's not given a whole lot to do until the end.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about Dylan when we get to the characters, but
yeah,
I mean the point is that RPM's plot is mostly just it's just style over substance, I guess you can basically say.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, you three already noticed. I'm being honest with the podcast audience listening to us. 32 episodes should not have taken me 2 months to watch.
Yeah.
Dang.
But I couldn't do it. I don't want to say I was bored, but I was a little bored.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't get into the characterization of the characters in the story. The only character I found interesting, the only 2 characters I found interesting didn't really get to do a whole lot until the end. And then everyone else is kind of there. So I had no incentive to want to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because I know other people, podcasters I respect, have come out and said this is their top season of the entire franchise. And I've listened to their podcast in the past on why they think so. And I'm like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand why you're saying it. But I don't see it.
No, I've never seen it. I've been on this boat for like a decade.
Well, remember, up until the end of Go Ons, I couldn't remember a damn thing about RPM.
Yeah,
I think I know why now.
I don't blame. Yeah.
No, I know why now.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of wondering in the middle when we were doing the Go Ons and stuff. I was like, man, why can't I remember anything about RPM? Oh, wait. This is why. Because RPM didn't make it interesting.
No, it didn't. And even bouncing off that point you said, Nate, about style over substance, I don't even think it did that very well because most of these original fight scenes had a sugar rush camera, the shaking. Like,
Okay,
why was the camera so shaking so violently during these fight scenes, man?
Wait, hang on. I need to ask y'all a question about that. Was that on purpose?
It had to be because it was only for the original fight scenes.
Okay. The other reason I didn't want to mention on podcast because I didn't want to seem like a wimp is I was getting a headache at certain points watching it.
That's why I don't like it. It's too much.
And you know what the other thing I don't like is? Do you remember the episode when they go out into the wilderness with the go-on van?
Mm-hmm.
That tint.
Oh yeah, the outside of Corinth, like the Mexico tint, as people call it.
Dude, I had such a hard time watching that because, okay, I have really good vision, all right? Like, I have no glasses, no contacts, no prescription, nothing. That gave me trouble.
I mean, it mutes all the colors.
I guess it was supposed to show that, like, apocalyptic world and everything's gone to crap.
It's probably as a way for them to show like the pollution in the air, because I'm going to assume the atmosphere is heavily polluted.
But that doesn't make any sense because, like, they were able to go out there just fine in certain areas, and like, if it was polluted,
without my costume on.
No, if they had that much pollution though, they should have been wearing like a hazmat suit.
Well, the Ranger suits probably were hazmat suits.
Well,
but they didn't wear the Ranger suits all the time.
Yeah, so I know that's the stupid part.
No, okay, that's the thing though. They don't commit to the world.
No,
they don't commit to the world at all.
Yeah, we're already having issues, and then of course the whole thing. This is not even talking about like RPM, but and freaking Samurai, the issue with I can't take my helmet off or my suit off because pollution. And I'm just like, dude, you've been outside before with the pollution. I don't want to hear it. Shut up.
Okay, now here's my other question, and I genuinely do not know the answer to this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know how Dr. K created Vengex, and she was trying to go outside, and they dragged her out, and she was kicking and screaming, saying, "No, if you don't let me go back and fix it, the entire world is gonna be doomed, blah, 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 whatever." And then, lo and behold, Vengex is on the loose, causing mass mayhem, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did she go from that scene to what I assume, and maybe that's my disconnect, within a couple of days, or maybe a year, I don't know how much time passed, she's back in there on a computer directing everyone to Corinth saying this is your best place to be safe. A year later, I think. Like, how did they build that entire infrastructure in 1 year while Vengex is out there doing what he did to the rest of the world?
Oh my God. I didn't think about that.
I know. I'm literally sitting here trying to think about that myself. I was like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm thinking about this from okay. So again, Rizwan's the engineer, right?
Yeah.
That engineering technology did not exist 1 year ago in their world. They had to invent that.
Yeah, that whole thing of Corinth would have taken like
10 years.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying in the beginning, this is why I wish we had seen other civilizations, we had seen them struggling with resources, because if this had gone from day zero, where they had nothing set up because they didn't know, to a year later, all they'd have is like the bare minimum. Like, okay, we have this barricade, we're in this little castle type thing, and we got a moat, and we're trying to fight off Vengex. But no, they have this whole, like, I don't know, 20-mile high tower that's generating a force field around a dome of a city. And they have the resources already in place for that dome city to be self-sustaining and capable. Which makes me kind of think, and this is a stretch, all right? This is a huge freaking stretch and has no basis in anything to do with the franchise or with the Boom comics even. And I haven't even read the Boom comics, but I know this is not in Boom comics because it would make too much sense. But I think this dome is Terra Venture.
Or
and like Terra Venture before it went up. Because I think there were Ranger teams before this one. And Dr. K just tapped into the Morphin Grid and made her own series of Rangers later on. But I think this is Terra Venture that they're living inside.
I mean, if you want to explain, and some people have actually taken this ideal of they were this universe and the main continuity were parallel to each other until Vengex took over. He was the deviant in that universe. So that means the Terra Venture technology was around and she could have used it for this. I can buy that.
I can buy it too. But again, this is 100% Rizwan Merchant idea. There's no basis for this. It's never said a single time in continuity, in the comics, in anything.
I mean, we did see Mac's helmet in shambles at one point, so you can kind of imply that up to a certain point, the timelines were the same.
Right, and I kind of thought that the reason we saw Mac's helmet is Dr. K had tried making Ranger series in the past. And that was a failed one. No pun intended on the fact that Overdrive did fail, but, you know.
Or it could have been a sign that the Overdrive Rangers from that universe fell in battle. Who knows?
Surprise.
I mean, oh.
Yeah. Knowing Mac, though, he probably would have been taken over by Vengex.
Oh,
honestly?
Well, no, actually, no, he wouldn't because he's human now.
Oh, that's right. Shoot.
No, but would he be human when this all began?
That actually, you know what? Maybe not. Yeah. Maybe they.
Because think about it, Vengex would have appeared around the time Overdrive ended. All of the events that Jungle Fury would have happened, right? But the events have been altered because of Vengex, which is why you had the Jungle Karma pizzeria at some point in the background.
Yeah,
I can buy this.
So
I can buy it too.
I think Mac could have been taken over.
He could have been, yeah. I mean,
he could have been Pace and Zero. He could have been the first hybrid.
And that's how the Overdrive Rangers fell. Man, that's actually twisted if that's actually what happened.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like they had such a good story they could have built. Where they could have connected everything.
Yeah.
And done it right. But they chose style over substance. They did the bare minimum to get anything done. And they didn't even clean up their own loop, like plot holes.
Yeah, just I don't know. I get why people like the plot of this season, but it just, I mean, and here's the thing. I don't even mind. I know Barkeep, the Onyx Tavern podcast. I mean, his podcast is discontinued. I mean, he calls RPM the worst season of all time, which I disagree with him on that. Here's the thing. One of the problems that he has is that he criticizes a lot of the fourth wall jokes and like comic relief antics. I don't even mind that stuff. I just feel like they don't feel like they fully commit, like they create all these plot holes within their universe. And like, how are Vengex monsters able to regularly penetrate the shields? How are people able to regularly leave the dome? Like, there are things you could have done with this plot that they just ultimately didn't do. The comic relief stuff, I don't mind. You need to inject some comic relief stuff into this in order to make it work. I mean, Power Rangers in Space is a very dark season, but you still have episodes where Bulk, Skull, and Phenomenus are out doing stupid stuff. So you need stuff like that. It's just the problem is Power Rangers in Space does take Power Rangers in Space does go a much further with the emotional moments, like implying that Andros's sister was killed when she was a kid, and then finding out all the emotion stuff. RPM just lacks that. And I know, Riz, you don't like to make comparisons for other seasons for Power Rangers in Space because it's a continuation of the Zordon era. But even if we just look at Power Rangers in Space by itself, I feel like that's a fair criticism
Yeah,
if
because
we're just going to compare it to RPM.
Well, they gave it time to breathe, and I think even because they adapted from Mega Ranger, they had the Neji Ranger to make the Psycho Rangers out of. It just gave In Space much more, much more. What's the word I'm looking for? It gave it a lot more intense moments.
Yeah,
and it made its finale feel earned.
Well, I mean, that's because we had six seasons.
Well, like I said, we're talking about In Space on its own merits.
But even In Space on its own, they had a build-up because
Mhm.
where they came from in the premiere, right? Like,
yeah,
the premiere set the stage of them being in a doom and gloom kind of scenario. They had to overcome it. They had to learn to deal with it. And you know the fun part about it is they actually had to go off and learn to be Space Rangers from Andros.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta ask you guys, like, I think we're going to be talking this in a little bit more later in the character section, but no spoilers to anyone here, but Dylan and Summer are my two favorite characters of the season, right? But
yeah,
with that said, I don't understand how you have Summer go from being this peppy, rich, spoiled brat to suddenly being able to ride a motorcycle and go save Flynn from unknown dangers or whatever.
Well, it was Scott, but still.
Yeah, Scott, sorry. Like, I understand that they were trying to sow the seed of some growth, but
I think they implied that she knew how to ride a motorbike because she did that in her free time when she was a rich kid.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of her flashbacks showing her just riding a motorcycle for fun.
I'm going to make a bigger suggestion. Remember how we said, you going off your point about they had to learn how to be Space Rangers from Andros. What if Dr. K was a Ranger?
From what team?
No, like she was one of the Ranger Operator series.
Oh, you mean like they seem like another Ranger on the team?
Yeah.
No, that would have been earned.
Yeah, like not saying that she would have been red like Andros because that, but like, I mean, yellow or she ended up becoming silver later. Like they didn't do the twins thing from Go-Onger or something.
Well, no, I mean, you could have still maintained the Go-Onger sibling thing by having Jem be her adopted brother from Alphabet Soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have had that.
Yeah.
But
I
honestly,
just feel like we're coming up with so many different ideas that the writers could have explored here. It just...
I do want to say real quick, if we're going to go with that idea, I would have preferred we cut out Jem and had Gemma and Dr. K be the Ranger twins or whatever, like siblings. Let Dr. K be gold, let Gemma be silver.
Yeah, because Gemma was a better character than Jem was.
Jem, I don't know what he did, really. He
didn't do anything.
No, he had one episode where he pissed me off.
Is it the episode that I complained about earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, that episode sucked.
Yeah.
It didn't suck. It hurt. Because Scott was hurting and Jem doesn't understand it.
Also, Scott's dad's a dickhead.
Oh, I hated his dad so much. God, I hate him.
But anyway, let's go ahead, Riz.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, I understand why his dad's a dick, though. It makes sense.
Yeah. But we could talk about, though, that briefly. We're going to talk about the supporting characters. in a bit, but we've kind of gotten our gripes with the plot mostly wrapped up. Now we're kind of venturing into the character stuff. So let's jump in here. Let's start briefly with talking about the villains. Now we don't really have to talk about all of them. Like we definitely don't have to talk about General Shifter or Crunch because those two characters they don't do anything. Um, in fact, I don't need like I honestly even forgot who General Crunch and General Shifter even were before the series, before we did this.
No, which one was Yogostein?
Uh,
see my point? See the point? Yeah. Oh no.
Do we want to talk about Venjix briefly? I mean, he's not much of a character either.
Is it? I mean, I don't think we can talk about Venjix here without having talked about Beast Morphers too.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I will say that I do like the imposing figure that Venjix is. He does have a presence on screen when he's in the pillar form. And the first time he confronts the Rangers when he's using Himeki Midas's body was genuinely one of the best, like, first time Ranger versus villain confrontations we ever had.
Yeah.
But
you mean he's Hemi Heka?
Yeah. Yeah, Mecha High, Mecha God, I hate you so much.
Hi,
but
hi,
but like, oh my gosh. But genuinely, Venjix's character is pretty stagnant because he's an AI. He's Timu Ultron.
Can I say something real quick?
Go for it.
You just triggered me, Patrick, and I have to make this. I have to say this.
What, Timu?
No. Forget about Timu. I don't care about Timu. To everyone at home who goes around saying, "Oh my God, I'm using AI to do my homework. Oh my God, ChatGPT is this AI thing." No, it's not. That is not AI. This is AI.
Yeah.
Venjix is an AI. ChatGPT? Nah, that's not AI, dude. That's Google.
It's a program.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that, honestly, you guys were talking about how Dr. K could have become a Ranger. Imagine what that would have done. Like maybe Dr. K has a personal rivalry with Venjix because she created him. The more I think about how you guys suggested that like Dr. K could have become gold while Gemma remained silver, that would have been an amazing dynamic. Like we're talking, I mean, maybe not quite on the same rivalry level as like say,
Andros and Ecliptor.
Yeah, Andros and Ecliptor, but I would definitely say it would be better. It would be a top 5 rivalry, like probably better than Tommy and Zeltrax or I can't think of any other big rivalries off the top of my head. I can think of a bunch of Sentai ones, but for Power Rangers, I don't know that many. I mean,
what about the Samurai Decker versus
Jaden and Decker?
Yeah, that one.
That would have been better. This would have been better than that.
Well, yeah, it's Samurai, but you know.
I mean, definitely better than I don't know, Ivan and what was Doe Gold's counterpart's name? Fury. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been an interesting thing, but yeah, I mean, Venjix is a very intimidating looking villain, but that's about all that he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's all he really needed to be, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to talk about Kilobyte. I don't think Kilobyte does. I mean, well, do you guys think Kilobyte deserves to be talked about?
No. Okay, no. Let me just say this real quick. None of them need to be talked about except for Tanaya and Venjix.
Okay.
And they're discussing. You're wasting your time if you do anything else.
Then what do we want to say about Tanaya?
Tanaya is the one part of the season that I felt had potential to be really good.
Yeah.
But then it got confusing because, like we said earlier, the original, what was his name? Gazillion?
Yeah, Gazillion.
Gazillion had a plan for her. We don't see that plan come to fruition. And then we see Chip's plan, which is copy and paste from in space. And even with all that, she doesn't get a whole lot to do, right? Until the sibling thing comes about.
Yeah, aside from that, I mean, she was just she was just going around making a bunch of like stupid, lame, like cringe quips to the Rangers, like, "Oh, blue, red's the perfect one, black's the bad boy, green's the clown. What are you supposed to be?" And it's like, what is that? What? How is that supposed to be insulting Flynn?
No.
I mean, she learned how to tell jokes from Ziggy.
Yeah, but Ziggy at least is funny because he can do shadow puppets. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But no, I think Tanaya could have been cool. I think I liked her better when she had the sibling storyline going because it gave her something to do. But yeah, the beginning, and that's the thing, right? Like, these characters in the first half of the season are kind of all running around autonomously without really feeding into each other at all. Like, no one really has a connection to anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, we could have had some fun rivalry building with Tanaya and Summer. We could have had maybe Tanaya and Dylan having a rivalry that turned into the sibling thing. That would have been pretty cool. But I think Summer and Tanaya having a rivalry would have been a lot more fun. Honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when she was originally written, she was just supposed to be kind of I don't know, kind of fill the role that like Vipra or Nadira had, where, like Vipra is just there to wear the suit of a Japanese character, the same way that like Nadira is there to fill Leela's role. Like she's literally wearing the same thing, but it's or like how Elsa technically fills the role of this humanoid villain from Abba Ranger. Like Tanaya, I think, was just there originally just to kind of be like a placeholder for Tegalasia, and then Judlin made that change later on. I don't know. Tanaya is a character that has so much potential, but unfortunately, it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got to say about Tanaya.
Okay, we have two supporting characters here that we should probably mention. I mean, they're big enough to where they're both featured in the credits. Let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about Scott's dad, Colonel Mason Truman.
I'll go first and say that he's a dick, and that's all there is to him.
I hate this guy. Like,
I didn't like him in either iteration, honestly.
I understood where he came from initially, but after a while, it went from blaming your younger son for your older son dying and just turning into just cruel spite. Like, get over yourself, man. You're just antagonizing Scott for no reason at this point.
I mean, really.
Yeah, it kind of I'll go into more detail when we talk about Scott, but the whole dynamic kind of reminds me a bit of the Faramir Denethor dynamic in Lord of the Rings, where like you have a man like Denethor, he has his two sons. He has Boromir and Faramir, and he always loves Boromir. Boromir is the son that he loves more than anything, and he just kind of looks like, oh, and then there's Faramir, that whole thing. And then Boromir dies, and he's left with Faramir, and it's very clear that he's torn up about Boromir dying, and he just doesn't care about Faramir. Now, granted, I don't think Truman is nearly as unlikable as Denethor is, because when Denethor dies in Return of the King, it's all like, yeah, you die. You jump off that while you're on fire. You die. You're a horrible person. But
like, yay, he's gone.
But so I don't think Colonel Truman is that unlikable, but he's trying his best to be there, if you know what I mean. Like just with Spidey and Scott and all that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, but it did feel reminiscent of the Denethor Faramir stuff.
Not to mention, I could see, why you would bring that up because it's like
Mhm.
the dynamic of, oh yeah, older brother syndrome. Oh, I will have to say this. I know people who have not seen this show yet, but it's a small little spoiler in case, Peacemaker did the same. The show called Peacemaker did the same thing with that, with the whole brother, with the dad, like in the older brother more than like the younger brother and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is that the worst dad ever mug was made specifically for this guy.
Yeah. Like the Ranger Wiki tries to imply that like he was just super protective of Scott, but I never got it that way. I just think that
It
like
it
he looked
never
at
came off like that.
yeah, I
No.
just got the feeling that he looked at Marcus like, oh, Marcus is great. You know, he's winning all these medals, he's doing all this cool stuff. Yeah, I love Marcus. Oh, and then there's Scott, my second born. Like, yeah, that whole thing. Like,
And then he just had to blame somebody for his death, and Scott was right there.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, boy.
But yeah, we could talk about Dr. K now. And Riz, did you want to add anything about Colonel Truman?
Did I stutter when I said he's a dick?
No, I guess not. Okay, we can talk about Dr. K now then.
Best character of the show?
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, she is the best character of the show.
Yeah.
I have no real complaints with her as a character. I think she's a really fun character. I think she's really well done. I think it's just unfortunate that we don't spend more time with her.
Yeah. And I feel like that suggestion of her becoming a ranger would have helped with that.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think if you wanted Dr. K to be like the lead of the show, you couldn't have had Dylan be the lead. And having Dylan be the lead took away from her.
Yeah, there's just so much emotion with her. Like she had her childhood stolen because she was forced to go to alphabet soup, and then she decides that she wants to free herself, but by trying to free herself, she ends up creating like one of the like a massive evil. And now ironically she's had her adult life stolen because all she can do now is just try to right this one major wrong that she's committed. Like it's deep stuff, and it shows that when the writers wanted to put effort into things, it could work. It's just unfortunately they didn't choose to put as much effort into Dr. K after that episode that reveals that she created Ninjix.
Yeah. Because people like to talk about the dark tone of the season, but her backstory is honestly demented in a way.
Yeah.
Like genuinely her backstory does live up to that dark moniker that people put on this season.
But and that's where it begins and ends. It's her and Jem and Zimmer.
Yeah.
Like that's the only darkness we really deal with. But even then, I think some people overlook some of her darkness from Dr. K because of how rude she is to Ziggy and other things like that. They focus on the superficial parts of it more.
I mean, and I'm gonna bring up this more with Jim and Gemma, but I mean, her being rude is fine because I mean, here's the thing: she got taken into alphabet soup when she was like, what, 9 or 10, maybe even younger than that. She would have never been taught basic adult behaviors like you can't be rude to people like that, like you can't just be blunt
But I
like that.
mean,
So it makes sense.
No, but what I saw on Reddit though, one point, I don't remember where, but people were trying to say that Dr. K was a mean character or a terrible character. She dragged down RPM with her treatment of other people, but I'm like, dude, look at her backstory. It makes sense.
No, she's desperate. She doesn't want to screw around, and she sees Ziggy as a hampering of the team. So she has no tolerance for him.
Yeah.
It makes sense why she's up in his crap all the time, because genuinely Ziggy is the most on-ranger ranger we've ever had. He does not.
Yeah.
So she just doesn't want to put up with him. So I get it.
Do we want to add anything else about Dr. K?
No.
Move on.
He's
Yeah,
great. That's
just
it.
a bit of a. No, what was that, Anthony?
He's just great. That's it. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and on a side note, I'm never going to get another chance to mention this, but her actress was in Lord of the Rings in the second movie. There's those two people who flee from that village in Rohan that's getting burned to the ground, and she plays that little girl that rides in that horse and warns King Theoden about what's happening. So that's pretty cool.
How did we
Another
tie
actress
this
that was
back
in
to Lord of the Rings
Rings.
twice?
I don't know, but that's pretty cool.
like, a lot of Power Ranger actors were in Lord of the Rings, believe it or not.
I mean, speaking of her actress, the irony, didn't her and Ziggy's actor get married?
They're divorced now, but yeah, they were
Are
married.
they? Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That sucks.
I didn't know about that part. I just found that hilariously ironic.
Yeah. But okay, now we can move on to the main thing here, doing Ranger analysis and tier ranking. And we can all give our thoughts on where we would tier each of these. So yeah, let's start off. We're gonna do based on numbers since they all have numbers. So let's start with number one, our Red Ranger, Scott. Who wants to go first on Scott?
I feel like there should be more to him than what there actually is. The biggest thing with his story is with Commander Truman, and it doesn't really build Scott's character up any. It more so builds Truman, because Truman does flip at the end of the season, but Scott himself never really feels like he has a character arc.
Yeah, Scott, to me, I'm gonna get crucified. I'm gonna get canceled out by the internet. He's one of the worst Reds to me.
Ooh, not the
I don't want to
worst.
say I go with that. He's like middle of the road, because I don't think his character is bad per se, but
he's boring.
It's stagnant.
It's stagnant, yeah.
He's super boring, man. Like, okay, maybe not worst, not the worst of the worst, but definitely low mid. Because he's so boring. Like, he doesn't do anything. He's just kind of there, like, hey, you didn't follow my orders, dude. You didn't earn the right to give an order. What have you done for the season? What have you ever done? You just stand there and let Dylan and Summer do everything.
Yeah, and to go off of that, Riz, like that's the reason actually why I would disagree with you that he's boring. Because here's the thing, I don't think he's boring, but on the flip side, I think boring would be an upside because the fact that he's constantly saying these people defied my orders, like almost as if he's constantly trying to pull rank to say he's team leader. That to me makes him unlikable, not boring.
Yeah, I mean,
unlikable.
I'll defend that part of his character real quick because it is a major part of Scott's story. He's desperate to win his dad over, and he thinks being more commanding would do that. It doesn't defend that he's annoying, I'll give you that, but it's him desperately trying to win his dad over. You see it a lot throughout the season.
Okay.
And it's not a good way of going about it, but that's what it is.
I'm going to counter with one word, Patrick. Selby.
Okay.
Selby had the exact same actor play her dad, and that dynamic actually worked. She actually played off of it. She actually did stuff with it.
I also feel like what she was trying to prove and bounce off of wasn't as dramatic as this.
No, because it's not post-apocalyptic, but at the same time, the magnitude of severity of what Selby was wanting to do versus what her dad wanted could be viewed in the same magnitude of a lower order.
Yeah.
Because to her dad, she was basically, dishonoring the family and doing something unthinkable. Meanwhile, Scott lived through an apocalypse and lost his brother due to
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
stuff hitting the fan.
I think what would have made me like Scott a lot better, and they could have easily gotten away with this if they wanted to base him off of Sosuke a little bit more, is that, okay, I did say that the Truman Scott, like the Colonel Truman Scott dynamic kind of reminded me a little bit of Denethor and Faramir, but the part where it starts to diverge is that Faramir is a genuinely likable character. Like he's much more gentle and kind. He's a much kinder person and caring, and not as bit compared to like Boromir, who was a bit more forceful and a bit more commanding of a warrior. And I kind of wish that you got more of the hint that Scott is genuinely nice of a person and has that more caring side to him. But the problem is that he comes off as too cocky, genuinely cocky, honestly, to really come
Mhm.
off like that. I really wish that they just kind of took the route of not having him be a complete pushover or anything, but be someone who has a good heart, genuinely cares about people, and isn't constantly trying to shove like I'm team leader, follow my orders type of thing. I mean, he's not, and here's the thing: I'm not going to say that he's on the level of like Operation Overdrive Rangers unlikable, but
Mhm.
because I see that there's nuance there, but I kind of wish that they took more of the route of him being a bit nicer of a guy, have him be not quite on the level to where he's like a doofus like Sosuke, but I don't know, somewhere like I guess you could have done like you could have taken the rookie route and have him be something similar to like what Casey was with in Jungle Fury. That's the only one I can think of, and then it would have worked out fine. And because then it would have been like a straight up Boromir, no, Faramir Denethor dynamic, and I would have been all for that. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just I don't want to hate on Scott too much because I personally think he deserves to be a C tier red, but there are issues with him that I just can't overlook.
No, you hit the nail on the head there, Nate. He's a definite C tier, probably
Mhm.
lower on the C tier for me than the higher end. Um, because he's definitely a step above Troy, who's just a wooden cardboard.
That's not saying.
He's definitely a step over Zayden Christ, which again, not saying much.
He's better than Cole. He's better than Mac.
Well, yeah, but I consider Troy to be a D tier, and I considered Zayden to
Yeah.
be a low D. I don't consider Zayden to be an F tier.
He's better than Brody.
Brody's a D tier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brody's stupid.
But I think he's a little bit better than those guys, but he's not that much better. It's a very fine line he walks.
Honestly, I just thought about this. The irony of it all is the season that is kind of directly tied to this in Beast Morphers. Devin is Scott written better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Because he had the same dynamic with his mayor, with his dad, who is mayor.
Yeah.
And it worked out. It was handled so much better. Like when he found out that Devin was the Red Ranger, he was like, that's my boy. Go out and get him.
Yeah, and I finished Beast Morphers season 1, so I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it only gets better in season 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, the thing is, Scott was... It's never clearly explained either in my rewatch. What qualities did he have to make him a leader for this team for Dr. K?
Military training.
That's bullshit.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
But
he was the one with military experience.
But look at the fact that they had a whole freaking army trained by Truman who could have been better Reds than him.
I don't know. They didn't do a good job of explaining why Scott, Flynn, and Summer were chosen at all.
I can I can see why Flynn and Summer to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I could see why Scott. I understand why all three of them, but I contest Scott being given the designation of team leader. If you want to say team leader is in the group, Summer is probably a better team leader than him. Because C actually tries to work with the rest of the team and do stuff to help them. Like, C is the one who's keep on harping over Dylan's help, trying to help him out. C is the one that kind of like is the glue of the team.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you want to really name a team leader, it should have been Summer from the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. Because she was the one that actually tried to convince Dylan to join the team in the first place.
Yeah, she tried to convince Dylan. She's the one that took care of him when he was, going through his stuff. She was the one that kind of sort of motivated the rest of the team. And she had that badass streak to her because of her background.
Yep.
But no, I digress. I think Scott is a low C, high D, but more so a low C.
Yep, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Flynn, he's number 2.
I would probably say Flynn. Me personally, to put it simply, I think Flynn deserves to be low B, high C. Because here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, he's not a bad character. I mean, he's
I think he's fun.
likable. His backstory is very wholesome with him just wanting to be a hero. I actually really like his backstory episode and the whole relationship with his dad. Like, that's very wholesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, there's nothing to him other than that. So, I would probably say that he's definitely higher than Scott for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But I want to say low B just because there's nothing to him that makes him a great character, but he's not a bad character. I say that good is the perfect word to describe him. Like, he's good. He's not great, but he's good.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think Flynn had a very endearing story with his dad and the superhero thing. And I think he actually went that extra mile to prove his worth to be on the team. More so than Scott did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Scott, it's implied that his brother chose him to be his backup or whatever. But you don't really see what Scott can do to earn that. With Flynn, you can see it. He went and saved people with the school bus. He went put his life on the line to help people. And he had that dream from the beginning. He always wanted to be there to do that for people.
Mm-hmm. And the scene where we see, like, we see all those scenes of his dad mocking him basically for the fact that he wants to be a hero, just saying, there's no such thing as hero, son. You got to get your head out of the clouds. And then Flynn ultimately just decides that he's going to go and save these kids. And that's when his father realizes, wow, I've been telling you this whole time that superheroes don't exist, but I've been looking at one my whole life. Like,
That's
it's
a great
just so
moment.
touching. I just love that.
Yeah, it's a great moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's not, he's certainly not on Billy or Sky or TJ's level, but he's fine.
He's alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As your little meme guy would say, he's alright.
No, I would put him higher than the it's all right thing. Like, I would probably put him in the nice. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Like, he's fine, and that's all he has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything, Patrick?
I'm going to be the contrarian. Outside of the stuff you were just talking about, I forgot this character existed. He next to Gemma, he's not Gemma, but Gem. He's probably the one I care the least about because he does nothing. He is. They ironically they said that the Sentai Blue Ranger didn't do anything. Well, congratulations, you wrote a Blue Ranger that did nothing. to make up
mean,
for it.
honestly,
Congratulations.
Okay, so remember when we were doing the go on through stuff, and I was like, I don't remember this season at all.
Yeah.
I had no memory of Flynn. I could remember his name, could remember his story. I think he's some guy with like a European accent.
Yeah. And it sucks too, because the points you brought up about his backstory, everything, great stuff. What happens after that?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and that's a fair criticism, which is why if you want to put him in like the C tier,
yeah,
it's
I
perfectly justifiable.
would put him in the C tier because he has a great backstory and nothing else.
You know, Patrick, I might nerf him. Because that's a good point. He didn't do anything after that, but he had a great backstory, but he doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I would want to keep him in the. Well, actually, no. I think.
Okay,
you're
because
right.
if you think about it, Nate.
Yeah.
When you think about B tier blues, who do you think of?
I think of I guess I definitely think Tori from Ninja Storm would be B tier because she does some
Tori
pretty badass
is so much better than Flynn.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'd even go as far as say Madison is better.
Oh yeah, Madison 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Probably C tier. I think is appropriate.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony. Any objection?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
I like the fact that he just said he's Scottish. That's pretty. That's like the only quality thing I remember him by. So
yeah. I mean, Scottish accents are fun to listen to sometimes. I mean, us people in America just like to make fun of them 90% of the time. So but yeah, now we can move on. This is going to be an interesting discussion. Summer.
Yeah.
Yellow.
So I'm gonna start off with this one. I'm gonna throw it out there. I think Summer is worthy of the S tier rank. However, I wouldn't call her the yellow of the franchise.
You know, we were talking about this yesterday, Riz. I think she deserves to be in the GOAT conversation specifically because of her backstory. Because, you know, the whole backstory with like she grew up rich and spoiled rotten, and she was just a completely horrible person. And then Vengeance comes and destroys the world, and all the money and everything that she held dear to her is suddenly rendered useless, and her butler, who's the only person who ever really cared about her, ends up dying, and that's when she realizes the person that she really wants to be. That's really deep stuff. And unlike Flynn, who doesn't do anything, Summer does. I mean, Summer is going out of her way to help Dylan, and she has moments where she takes over as the leader when Scott is absent. It's more subtle stuff, but Summer still does plenty of things in the show. So I don't think she's quite on the level of Kira or Lily, but she deserves to at least be in that conversation.
Exactly, which is why I grant her the rank of S, but I don't think I can call her the GOAT.
Yeah, definitely not. But
I think so. I kind of, in the back of my mind, knew all these years that I liked the yellow of the season a lot. But then I diluted my value of her when I started rewatching other stuff again. Like, you know, I've rewatched Jungle Fury and I've rewatched Dino Thunder in the past, like, I don't know, 3 years, I think. I've watched those 2 seasons. And I think I forgot how much I liked her in comparison. Because I started to say, maybe she's not an S tier. Maybe she's really an A tier. But no, she's definitely S tier. And I think she's a fantastic character. And you're right, Nate. It's all the subtle things she does. There's nothing overt, like where she like has a defining moment throughout the season where it's like, oh, okay, this is the moment that defines her. Because her defining moment is in that 2-part character origin story, but it's built upon by the mere fact that every day she gets up and says, screw it. I'm not going back to mommy and daddy. I'm not going back to money. I'm not going to marry a tool. I'm going to be a ranger, and I'm going to fight and kick ass and save the day. And she goes even above and beyond that to be Scott's second in command, basically, and to be the one to deal with Dylan's bullshit, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
Like, a spoiled rich girl would not care about Dylan.
Nope.
A spoiled rich girl would never become a ranger. So I think her character deserves to be, in my opinion, a runner-up to the GOAT.
Patrick, Anthony, you want to add anything?
Yeah. Yeah, you go first.
So I've been following this actress since since she was in, what was it? Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, which is bad. Interesting. Like, she was actually in that too.
Yeah.
iZombie. Yeah, iZombie. She's a fantastic actress, and I think the reason why Summer is the way Summer is good is because of the actress who plays her, Rose McIver. Fantastic.
Which, by the way, I've met her in person. She is a sweetheart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Such a great person.
Isn't she right now doing a show called Ghosts?
Is she doing something right now? I was looking earlier. I didn't see her doing anything.
She's on a long-running series called Ghost that's running right now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it's on TV.
I think so.
Oh, no, CBS, I think. CBS.
Yeah, CBS. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on CBS.
I think one of the reasons why Summer works so well is, and I'm not going to say this because of characterization, because her and Saki are nothing alike, but in terms of role on the team, where she kind of acts as the comforting figure of the team, she's the closest to their go-on-your counterpart than anyone else. And they adjusted her character to fit the mood of the season, and it worked perfectly. Because Saki was the glue that held the go-oners together. Summer's the glue that holds the RPM Rangers together.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing is that I do wish that they did more, like expanded on her backstory a little bit more, so we could see her transition more from where her origin story episode left her off to when she joined the team. But that's more just a problem with the season in general being too condensed for time. So I'm not going to hold that against her too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did. I think they did it decent enough with her. Could have done more, but
yeah.
What are you going to do? Disney only gave them. Disney wasn't giving them enough money for episodes that they needed.
Yeah, but I will agree that
the man that we didn't have we didn't have those 2 episodes to take up.
Yeah. Those 2 episodes needed to be removed. But yeah, I will agree that Kira and Lily are probably 1 and 2. I don't know which one I would put 1 and which one I would put 2, but Summer's 3 in terms of Power Rangers yellows. Because believe it or not, because actually there's not very many good yellows in Power Rangers. Because outside of these 3, who's 4? Chip? Probably.
Yeah, Trini probably deserves to be in that conversation. But
yeah, Trini's up there. Chip would be up there.
Gia.
Yeah. I mean, genuinely, Gia was a good character for what little they did with her.
Yeah. I think Gia's better than people give her credit for, and that's why I want to fight for her being top 5.
I think Taylor and Katie deserve to be in that conversation.
Ashley.
You keep saying that about Katie. I never see it, dude.
No, I don't either.
At least Taylor.
I have to rewatch Wall Force to let you know. I don't remember enough to know.
Okay. I can see why you guys might not like Katie. I just got good vibes off of her, but I can see what you guys are saying. So I do understand.
But they do nothing with her, but I still like her, though. That's not her fault.
Like, she's a nice character, but she's not top 5 material. She's like she's a B tier.
That's a good one. That's a great way to word it.
Yeah. She's definitely B tier, but she's nothing but more than B tier.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say Summer deserves to be in low S, high A, probably S.
No, she's S tier. because everything she's been through, she deserves S tier.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
We can move on to Ziggy now.
Unironically, my favorite character of the season. He is such an unorthodox character in a Power Rangers series that he's entertaining in his own unique way.
Yeah, I would say he's Dax done right. Like,
yeah,
he's an idiot, but the show isn't trying to pretend like he isn't an idiot.
mm-hmm.
And like, okay, with Dax, he's an idiot, he's incompetent, he has no business being a ranger, but the show wants us to think that he is somehow worthy of being a ranger, and it just doesn't work with Ziggy. He's literally not supposed to be a ranger,
Mm-mm.
and he is an idiot, and the show realizes that, and they embrace it, and they have absolutely no problem just
Like
making
even
that
in
part of his character.
like even in the fight scenes, you just see him kind of flailing and fumbling around like a moron.
Yeah.
And it works that he was based off, like not based off, but he's the counterpart to Hanto.
Yeah.
But okay, so I might get some flack for this, but I have a hard time deciding if I liked Ziggy or not.
I mean, I don't blame you because he is a very strange character to try to dissect.
Like, okay, so I like some of his humor, but then there are other bits of his humor where I'm like, Ziggy, just shut up. Nobody cares. Like, one example I'll give you. I don't remember what episode was in, but the Rangers are already in their mech at the beginning of the episode, and they're walking to fight the monster. And Ziggy starts saying, I told you we should have gone down that road instead of this road. And then he starts saying, hey, I think we could be a carpool lane. Could we use a carpool? Because we're 5 people in the sword. I'm sitting here like, Ziggy, just stop. Just stop. Please stop.
It's probably a way to keep himself calm. It's the Spider-Man tick. He makes jokes to keep himself calm under pressure.
But see, the thing is, I would like Ziggy a lot more had we had him really kind of truly react to the world that he's in. Like, I know he's reacting in a way to keep himself calm, but he starts off as comic relief without ever really letting us see anything more of him. And I want to see more of like of who he is, because we know he went to jail, we know he works for the mafia, we know he's done some stuff that's not reputable. Don't really know him that well though.
I will say this, Riz. I do agree with you that if I had to choose between the two comedic red greens, I would probably pick Bridge over Ziggy. I think Bridge is
There are 3
definitely
comedic greens to begin with. Excuse you.
Xander.
Xander's the other one.
Yeah, and I guess Joel, but
no, Joel's not that comedic.
Joel's just suave as heck.
Yeah, he's
but I think I think Bridge is the funnier one, just because I don't know. Personally, I can find Bridge to be a bit more relatable because, I mean, first of all, I low key get vibes that Bridge might actually be on the spectrum.
Oh, Bridge is on the spectrum, 100%. There's no disputing that.
Yeah. So, and as someone who's on the spectrum and sometimes finds himself babbling on and taking forever to explain something that can easily be explained in 2 sentences, I just find that to be super relatable. So, it's funny in that way.
He has the very weird quirk of thinking by doing handstands.
Yeah. And buttery toast.
Yeah. So,
but if I had to rank the 3 comedic greens, Ziggy might be a third.
Him and Xander, it's kind of a back and forth in my head, but I see what you mean.
I like Xander better.
Xander's a more I guess, consistently stable character than Ziggy is, but I don't know. There's just something about Ziggy being so out of place that makes him a little bit more memorable.
I mean, okay, so coming from the guy who didn't remember RPM until like 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
I remember more about Xander than I remember about Ziggy in the interim.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a personal taste, probably.
It is, and
I just find Ziggy hilarious because he's clearly not made for this.
no,
And it just makes him being here funny in its own right.
it is, and I'm not trying to say that I don't like Ziggy. I'm just saying of the three, he's my least. And I've been debating in my head where I would rank him from the minute he came on screen until now. And I'll probably change my mind again in the morning, huh?
What amongst greens?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I probably have him as high B tier. Like he maybe A, but like when it comes to S tier greens, I'm talking like I definitely think Joel deserves to be S. Izzy is number one. Izzy deserves.
Yeah, I was
to be
about to say
S.
Izzy was number one.
Are we not counting Cam?
He's a sixth ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think Ziggy deserves to be A because I mean he does have an arc where he becomes a bit of a better fighter, and he does have memorable moments. But you definitely can't say that he's on Izzy's level, not even close.
No.
He's not Izzy level, and he's not Bridge level. Those are my two standards for green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel, you tell me he's a good character. But Lightspeed's the other season I don't remember too well.
Well, hopefully, when we watch it again, we can get more on that.
Technically, even if you wanted to mix blacks in, Carlos played both colors, so he fits in. I think he was a good character too.
Yeah.
100%. I think Carlos is better than Ziggy.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yeah, Carlos sees a lot of development.
Yeah. No, that's why I was kind of debating. I don't think Ziggy can get an A from me.
He's
I was debating
high A.
High A?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking high B.
I can see where you're coming from with that.
Because, okay, if you're talking comedic greens only, then yeah, he's definitely an A tier. But if you're looking at all the greens that are not sixth rangers, I can't put him in the same category that I put Carlos. And I wouldn't put Carlos as an S tier. I'll put him as an A tier.
I can see that, but I would still want to put Ziggy there just because I feel like he does have an arc where he kind of goes from being a bit of a coward to where he does kind of have moments to shine at the end, like when he saves Dr. K from being killed by grinders in the last episode. Now, granted, they could have done something a whole lot better with that. I think that's enough to kind of justify A tier because he definitely stands out. But
he is a standout character. I think the problem I'm having though is who are the greens below him? You got Jake. You got
Damon.
Yeah, Damon's kind of boring.
Yeah, Damon.
Who is the samurai?
Oh, Hector.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
Oh yeah.
No,
Mike is Hector's the actor name.
Yeah, Hector's the actor. Yeah. Let me see. Where would you put Adam and the two original Black Rangers? Zach and Adam.
Zach is A tier, I think.
Yeah. Zach is A tier. I think Adam is S tier.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And then our last Black Ranger, Javi.
Javi would be an A tier.
Yeah. And again, Javi would probably be above Ziggy too.
But if you're talking about characters like Javi, the conversation cannot include Ziggy, right? Like Javi went through some real shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Javi is a better character than Ziggy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think high B
Okay, yeah,
tier.
because black and greens always go together, and if you put a lot of because there's a lot of good Black Rangers and Power Rangers. Like even the one in here, Dylan is a better character than Ziggy is.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, Dylan's the goat.
Yeah,
We'll get to that in a minute, though. But
if you look at it in that way, yes, I would put him at high B.
Right, because if you look at it from that angle, you can't put him in A tier because that's insulting to Javi, that's insulting to Carlos, that's insulting to I might argue that's insulting to Xander, but I think Xander and Zeke are on the same footing.
Yeah. No, I think when we put it like that, it's probably appropriate to put Ziggy in B.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Dylan then. I mean, this is going to be easy. So
S tier, done. Move on.
Yeah.
There's no arguing it. He is the best Black Ranger in the season, in this franchise. Moving on. Zem and Zem, let's go.
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, and not to, I don't want to say this about Dylan and ranking with other things, just to talk about how great of a character he is briefly. Like, I love how we never get an actual definitive revelation on what his backstory is. Because I feel like that's probably the best thing that this series did. They don't try to force some backstory on us. Their whole attitude is the past doesn't matter because what's more important is that he's made a new family with new friends, and to the point where the past doesn't matter because he's built a better future for himself.
Yeah,
I just think that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's never come back in anything ever.
Yeah. And people compare him to like Wolverine from the X-Men because he lost his memories.
Honestly, that's a really good.
That is a good comparison because he fights dirty like Wolverine does too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he's perfect. I mean better than Adam. He's better than Tommy if we look at him from just strictly his Black Ranger role. Like there's no Black that's ever going to be better than Dylan.
I think Javi is the one that can contend with him.
Yeah.
I think Adam could make a case, but I think you're right. I think Javi is the one that could really go neck to neck.
Yeah.
But only because of the Cosmic Fury stuff. If you talk about Dino Fury only, I don't think so.
Yeah. Only the last thing I want to say about Dylan is how do you take a lame Black Sentai Ranger and create the GOAT Black Power Ranger?
The same way you take a great Red Ranger and make a boring red on the other end.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's weird that happened twice.
Balance.
What do you mean?
Well, 3 times actually, because Lost Galaxy, Samurai, and Megaforce.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on to Jim and Gemma.
I mean, Jungle Fury too.
Let me see. So Jim and Gemma now.
Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna start off here because
Go for it.
I need to get something out there. So for 10 plus years since I've seen RPM, I've been throwing Zem and Zemma in the bottom like F tier category because I didn't remember them too well. I was like, they're F tier. They're not worth talking about. They're garbage. They're not good. But then I watched the season again, and while they're not spectacular, and I think Zemma is better than Zem by a lot, they're not anywhere near F tier to me. They're like, I think Zemma could be made to be like a low B, high C, and Zem is like a mid C, if I'd be honest.
Yeah, I think so. There's like, I would say that there's 3 Sixth Ranger characters. Well, actually, no, a couple that I would rank below them. I would definitely rank them higher than Merrick, just because at least with Jim and Gemma, there's a consistent tone with the dynamic between them and the Rangers. Whilst with Merrick, he's a lone wolf, but he's friends with the Rangers, but he's still a lone wolf. Like, make it make sense. Come on.
Sam.
He's better than Sam. Sam is just a ball of light. Moving on. He's better than. I think they're better than Daggeron because Daggeron is another one of those things where he just doesn't have a dynamic with the team
Yeah.
that much. I love John
Yeah.
Toohey, but I don't think Daggeron I never felt was good, enough of a character. And
Tyron.
yeah, and definitely better than Levi because I didn't like Levi in Ninja Steel.
Now,
Yeah.
what do you think about these two in comparison to like Orion?
I would say Orion is better there just because Orion has more of a backstory and
Mhm.
I think Orion had great chemistry with the team after he joined. But I don't know if I would call them better or not, but they're at least like they deserve to be in that conversation on the level with Orion.
I'll say something funny. I think Robo Knight is better than both of them.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I hate you.
What? You know I'm right.
I'm debating on if you're right, and I don't think you are.
I mean, genuinely though, I will defend Robo Knight.
I know.
If there was one thing that came out of Megaforce that I will defend to the ends of the earth, it's Robo Knight.
Yeah.
I'll defend Sierra to the end of all time.
I mean, I don't think she needs defending because she speaks for herself, but Robo Knight needs to be defended.
Yeah, but I would say Jim and Gemma, like with Neo Saban era Sixth Rangers, like I mean, honestly, aside from Levi, there's not that many. None of the Neo Saban era Sixth Rangers are terrible outside of Levi.
Yeah.
I think Jim and Gemma deserve to be on the same level as Orion, Antonio, Ivan, Robo Knight.
Ivan's like S tier though.
Yeah.
To me, he is. To me, he is.
Okay, I have to go real fast.
He's not Quantum or Titanium, but he's like up there with them. To me, anyway.
I don't think they're terrible characters. I mean, people say they're annoying, but like, I don't know, like the way that they're annoying, like it's like John done right, where okay, yeah, they do some annoying things, but here's what people need to realize: like, oh my God, they act like children. Well, guess what, guys?
Mhm.
They are children.
The problem with that is that they stuck with that shtick for too long because they did develop them. It was just too little, too late.
Well, I think the problem with them and why they're not better ranked is they showed improvement with the Gemma Flynn thing and the Scott and Zim thing,
but didn't stick.
But then they devolved.
Yeah.
And for all we know, they could be like literally children because I mean, Dr. K is 18. I'm pretty sure they established in RPM. They could be somewhat younger than Dr. K, which means like legally they're not even like fully developed adults yet, and they spent all that time in Alphabet Soup. These two characters could literally actually just be children.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's where it just becomes a bit more tolerable. Like Riz, we were talking about like it's like doing Maji Ranger at some point. Like Maji Red has a lot of the same like childish behaviors, not nearly as grating as John from Geki Ranger, but he still has a lot of childish qualities. But here's the thing: his character's 16. He is literally a child, so he can get away with that, if you know what I mean.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing is it's all about the story you're giving and the growth. Because you do see some growth with Zem and Zemma, right? Like you definitely see growth there. With the idiot from Geki Ranger, there's not any growth.
I mean, wait until we get to Die Ranger, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Kiba Ranger?
Kiba Ranger makes me want to punch a wall.
So
he's these guys, but worse.
Good. I'll have fun.
Look forward to it.
But yeah, I would put Jim and Gemma together. Like maybe Gemma in the B tier.
Yeah.
Jim in the C tier. But yeah, they're definitely not F tier characters.
No, not at all. They're fun. I enjoyed it. Gemma just I wanted more of her character because I don't know if I said this in the podcast, Nate, or if I told you this in the text, but I think had we had more episodes and we had a little bit more Gemma solo focus, you might see her progress towards being more like Mew. She would never approach being Mew, obviously, but she could approach that level.
Yep.
So I think there's a case to be made there. But I vote we move on because,
Yeah.
We can. I mean, we can briefly say each like well, we can move on to just giving the overall tier ranking to wrap this up, because favorite episode, at least I mean, I've said my favorite episode, and I think we can all agree that probably the worst episode I guess is like one of the clip show episodes, or that stupid behind the scenes
it's the
episode.
behind the scenes thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, if we
Anthony just went
ignore-
on a
if
rant
we-
about that.
Yeah. But if we ignore those two, it's probably the one where Truman gave Jim the medal.
Yeah.
I hate that episode
I agree.
so much.
Yeah.
And to me, the best was probably the summer two-parter.
Yeah, it's Dr. K's backstory episode for me.
That's the other one, yeah. I would have to
Yeah.
say Summer and Dr. K had the best stories in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can wrap this up by giving our overall tier rankings.
Oh no, I don't know what the hell to give this yet. Patrick, help me.
I want to. Okay, I'm going to make mine simple. I want to put this in the B tier and the reason why I want to put it in B tier, low B tier, let me make it clear, low B tier to the point where it's kind of bordering on a C, is that I feel like there is an attempt to put effort in certain areas. Like, because here's the thing, it gives us a great Black Ranger, it gives us a great Green Ranger, and it gives us a great Yellow Ranger. There are some areas where they attempt to put effort into it. It's just not everything hits bullseyes. So I feel like this was an okay, respectable way to end the Disney era. I would have preferred if Jungle Fury was the end of the Disney era, honestly, but I don't know. I would say B, but I'm kind of bordering on a C, but I still don't think I don't think it's a horrible season, but it's got a lot of issues that I think people just need to be aware of.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You put it in B, Anthony?
B teetering to C, basically.
Okay. And Riz? Well, okay, Patrick can go next so that Riz can figure out what he wants to say.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell to say yet.
I'm throwing it smack dab in middle of C tier. Confidently. It's cons outweigh its pros. And I think, and this is going to come off as really petty, but I think the love this season gets from the greater part of the community wants me to want to rank it lower because I don't get it. So I want to beat it down a little bit some.
Yeah, so listening to you three, so even before I even listened to y'all, I've been thinking C tier, but I didn't want to say C tier because I'm known to be the asshole of the group, to be like, yeah, I'm going to put this a bit lower than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting y'all to say, oh, it's like an A tier, it's a B tier, but y'all are saying C tier kind of. And I'm like, okay, I know you and Anthony said low B, but to me that sounds like a C tier, but you're just trying to be nice about it. But I think Patrick is right. It's smack dab C tier. It was super boring for me to watch a lot of it. I was sitting there like, okay, make it interesting. Talk about the post-apocalyptic world you live in. Talk about your resource problems. Explain how you built this entire infrastructure. Do something. I'm like poking it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to know exactly where I stand with RPM, I put Mystic Force higher on the tier list.
Oh, wow.
I
figured that was it.
I'm being dead serious. I would rather watch Mystic Force than RPM.
I mean,
Mystic Force though. I mean, I don't know. It has issues, but But other than that, I mean,
Nick stinks, but I feel like Mystic Force has more intrigue.
Yeah. And oh my god, like Korak was such a good villain, and I'm standing by that.
No, he is.
I guess when we get to Mystic Force, I'll have an opinion there because I think I used to like Mystic Force a lot because I've watched Mystic Force like 3 times so far in my life. The first time before I met you guys, and I thought it was a great season. Then I watched it again. I was like, what the heck am I watching? And then I watched it again a year or 2 later out of curiosity. And I was like, nope, I was right. What the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
Mystic Force is weird because its highs are really high and its lows are really low.
Yeah. But it had more hype. And
yeah, exactly.
You know, the thing that we haven't really hit on, in my opinion, is the RPM finale fell so far. It was not even close to being good.
Yeah.
No.
I think if they had just copy and pasted the Go On's their finale, this could have been a lot better.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I guess we can all collectively agree that like RPM is like C tier.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my final thoughts are RPM, I will not get into gear.
Okay. All right. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Nope.
That felt so good to finally get that out of my system. Die Ranger, you're next. Watch out.
Are they next? Are they next, Patrick? I don't think they're next. They're not next.
No, but I mean, like the season I need to rip into. You're next, Die Ranger. So just wait your turn.
But anyway, that wraps up this one. We're gonna do our Go Onter versus RPM comparison just to make things interesting. Even though we probably generally know who's gonna win, unlike the Time Force Time Ranger thing, where it genuinely came down to just one minor technicality. That one, I mean, it'll be interesting. So definitely check that one out. But yeah, we're of course gonna continue to talk about Go Juger. We're gonna review the next batch of episodes very soon, and we will very soon be getting to our next Sentai. You guys just wait and see. We're definitely gonna get that out to you. But we got a lot of cool stuff planned for you for the rest of this year. And we hope you guys will check us out again when we do the RPM Go Onter versus special. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.
Thank you.